The top 5 lists to get your first wholesale deal. Guys, it's Rick Ginn, and today I'm going to break down the lists that you need to attack right off the bat as a first-time wholesaler so you can have the highest success rate of getting your first wholesale deal inked. But before I get into it, do me a favor as usual. Make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe notification button so you get the most up-to-date information on wholesaling today. So guys, when I go into this list I'm all about simplicity. And the more clarity you have and what you're trying to accomplish, the easier this business is of wholesaling. So you have to understand that. So many times you're trying to chase down like 30 or 40 complicated lists, high-end list, paid list, or using third-party services. No, you've got to take ownership and go out and you've got to claim your list. Because if you're going to depend on somebody else to get that list for you, you are a long way from getting a deal. So let's get going here. The really cool part is all these lists I'm going to give you, they're 100% for free. You don't have to have a paid subscription. You don't need a fancy service. You can technically have $0 in your bank account and you can still get this list. So a lot of people overlook these lists because they're free, but I'm here to tell you, this is where I get the most success in my business. And this is definitely what got me my start in wholesaling. So the first tried and true list is always going to be your code violations. What is a code violation? Simply, somebody has broken the codes that are within that city to keep everything on the up and up. So if the grass gets too high, there's a landscaping violation, they get a notice on it. If the windows are boarded up and they stay boarded up year round, if the house is covered in mold, if there's debris everywhere, if it's missing a mailbox, you guys kind of know what I'm talking about here. The reason the cities have this is to make sure a trashed house doesn't affect the neighbor's value. Now, sometimes the city drives around and they flag the houses. They put a little red sticker on the door, or sometimes it's just a nagging neighbor in the neighborhood who call anonymously to report that. They send a city employee out to deem if the violation is necessary or not. Once they have the violation, the clock goes. They usually have about 30 days to fix it. They have to call in to have somebody re-inspect it, and then they're signed off on the violation. If not, they basically have the right to put a lien on the house from anywhere from $50 to $100 a day. And these numbers can get outrageous. I've seen one lack of lawn cutting code violation go up to $30,000 because the lady never called back to get it re-inspected, even though she had it cut 1 week after the violation. So guys, we're talking about governments and cities. They're extremely inefficient. And because of this, it creates a golden opportunity for us wholesalers. If you can get a hold of this list, and then you have to classify the list, you are specifically looking for landscaping issues, high grass, overgrown trees, dead trees, stuff like that that makes the property look bad. You're looking for deferred maintenance items. You're looking for structural stuff, windows, blue tarps on the roof, stuff like that. Or if the house is kind of inhabitable or it's really run down, the worse, the better, in my opinion. But when you get these lists, once you have this list, which the city derives, the list is never sold. And the list is somewhat challenging to get because a lot of people chase this list down. But once you have that list, you know exactly where the problem properties are in your neighborhoods. And once you know where the problems are, that's where the opportunities are. So if you can chase down that list, you stay with me to the end of the video, I'll tell you how to reach out to these sellers. There is one way that's the most effective way, and it's the technique I prefer you to use. So the second one on my list is the water shutoff list. I'm like, well, how do I get that? So this is going to be at your city or county level. And if they have a public utilities department and it's public, that's the key word, public, you can get a list of everyone they've shut off the water. Now, they're going to look at you kind of weird when you ask for the list. Why would you want the list of people who shut off their water? Well, the reality is if the water is being shut off, there's most likely problems. And it's usually a financial issue. Maybe the tenant stopped paying. Maybe the owner stopped paying. Maybe someone lost their job. Listen, if you don't have running water in the house, you've got a lot of issues. And most likely that house needs to be sold. It's probably going to need a ton of repairs. I have found whenever there is a water shutoff, there is a high probability of that property needing to be sold. Now, getting that list, I'm going to be honest with you, it's 50-50. But if you get this list, it is absolutely golden. You're going to find the problematic properties in your neighborhood. And then all you got to do is reach out to these homeowners, these sellers, Find the ones that are most motivated and strike a deal with them. Guys, water shutoff is amazing. I didn't have this when I first started wholesaling. And once we discovered it, it was like the list of all lists. And to this day, it's still a great list, but it is a much harder list to get. I find you have to have 50-50 chance at best. Remember, they have to be a public utility for them to even share that list. And be prepared for them to ask you, why do you want this list? Now, it's up to you how you come up to it. I'm not big on lying to people, but you would like to know who's paying their water bills in your area. Just get creative and figure it out. I don't know why they want to know that information or why they even care, but be prepared for them to ask you that crazy question. The water shutoff list, guys, golden opportunity to find your best motivated sellers and easily get your first deal off of it. Now, my next one, number 3, is basically foreclosures. And this list is basically at your county courthouse, and it's a public list. You should have zero difficulty getting this list other than getting it online and figuring out how to navigate through that, or go down to your county courthouse and find out. Now, remember, you're not looking for the public foreclosure auction dates. That is the final part of a foreclosure, and that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for the initial filings. The notice of default, also called a NOD, which is the acronym for notice of default. And basically, this is when the bank files a lis pendens, which is a lawsuit, saying because they have not made payments on their mortgage, we would like to take our asset back, which is going to be the house. Now, they have a public hearing for this, and they give the defendant, which is going to be the homeowner, 20 days to answer. And then the bank's going to show their proof. 95% of the time, really 99% of the time, the bank wins. The homeowner never shows up. The key is to catch these people early within the first 3 months of their foreclosure. And that way there's money left in the property, hopefully. They have options, and that way you can have time for the seller to find a new place to live, hopefully get some money out of it, take their pride and dignity, and not have their credit ruined in foreclosure or have a judgment filed against them. The key is catch them in the first 3 months, because after the first 3 months, in my experience, procrastination rules, and then they won't call you till the auction date set. And by then, it's very hard to get your first deal from a property that's getting ready to go to auction, because it usually requires a lawyer, and I don't want you to pay for that, nor do you have the experience. So work the foreclosure list and get them early as possible within 3 months. And number 4, probably to me, the most effective one, the most common sense one, especially when you get your first deal, just get in your car and go out and look for ugly houses. This technique called driving for dollars. I did not invent it. It's been around since the turn of time. And it's simple. You can go out and collect 200 or 300 leads in the greatest of ease and just go find ugly houses. If you have to ask me what an ugly house is, I'll tell you what an ugly house is. It's ugly. High grass, boarded up windows, just nasty looking. It doesn't even look like it fits in the neighborhood. These houses all have a story behind them. It's up to you to get that information first and find and seek these houses, create a list, and then you need to get out and reach out to that seller and see if you can take advantage of the opportunity. The reality is the neighborhood wants it sold, you want to buy it, and I promise you the seller wants to sell. They just can't figure out how to do it. This is where we help people out as wholesalers. So the easiest way to do is just get in your car and look for these houses, and do not complicate it. Just write the address down, take a picture of it. I don't care, use Deal Machine, whatever you want to do, and just get it done. The more that you pick these up and the more consistently you market for these deals, at least go out once or twice a week, the more leads you're going to have. And honestly, it's really the fastest way, in my opinion, to get a wholesale deal, because you already know the property has a problem. You just got to find out if the seller's motivated enough to sell to you. And my last list, that's free. That's going to take a lot more work to get because you do get some resistance. It's going down to your county courthouse and asking for your probate list. You want a docket of everybody who's filed probate in the last 30 days. You can maybe go about last 60 days, but the fresher, the better. These lists aren't the easiest to get. They're always going to ask you, why do you want it? Just tell them you're doing research. If you're young, you can say you're doing research for your school. If you're older, just say, listen, I'm doing some research in the county to see how many deceased people have owned a property here in the last 90 days. Just come up with a story, and understanding they will put you through some tests to see if you really want that list. The key is you hang in there and be super nice and ask for help from the probate court employees. Now, these lists are great. If you want to learn more how to do it, go over to freewholesaling.com. Now, probates are Once you get the list, they're relatively simple. There's not a lot on there, but man, the profit level on a probate is undeniable. It is the greatest profit you're ever going to find in a wholesaling deal. And that's the main reason why I want you to do probate. You only need 1 or 2 within a 1-year period to really change your life. Our average probate profit is in excess of $36,000. We've done multiple 6-figure deals on regular single-family homes from probates. That's why I want you to incorporate in your rotation of lists. And if you've never done a wholesale deal before, don't worry about it. You don't need to know everything about probates. We teach you how to do it, freewholesaling.com. The real money is in finding people in probate that need to sell their house, and I'll show you how to do the rest. It's really not complicated. Now, remember, in the beginning, I told you how to attack these. So the one that's going to have a difference is the probates that we just recently talked about. You're simply going to do what we do, a warm call, which basically you get their phone number, go over to truepeoplesearch.com, or you can use ListREI or ZachData.com, and you can pull their phone number and you just reach out to them and see if they have interest in selling the property. And I'm going to teach you how to use your ears much more than your mouth, because in probate, you have to listen to people's problem, because if you cannot bridge that gap to get a conversation from your rapport, the rest is irrelevant, but we teach you how to do it over freewholesaling.com. That's going to take what we call a warm call, and that's easy to do. The other 4 techniques, which I taught you, which was the code violations, the water shutoffs, the foreclosures, and the driving for dollars, we're going to use a method to reach out to the sellers called reverse driving for dollars. So you just take a yellow sticky note and you put a little message on there. You can be creatives like, hey, just had a quick question about the house, Rick, and put your phone number there, and you put it on all those doors. You have to figure out logistically on how to do all that. But when you do that, if you put out 100 sticky notes and 15 people call you back, you just saved yourself from 85 painful conversations, and just work with the ones who really show the most motivation that want to work with you. Guys, you tell me. These are the top 5 lists to get your first wholesale deals. Let me know in the comments which ones you're attacking right now. And as usual, if you got value from this video, do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button. You hit that subscribe notification button. This is Rick Ginn, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.